TGIF. Thank God it's Fish. I'm Mike Fisher, your trusty and trusted reporter. This is the Fishbowl. That is the Star. Cowboys will be back in action next week after their bye. We will be at the Raiders for Monday night. And Sugar, we're planning on going to Las Vegas.
Yep.
If the government allows it. Troy Aikman has been one of my guys. Look at Troy. Oh. I don't know where I got this, but it's up on the shelf. He's been one of my guys for a long time, going back 30 plus years. And so I hope what I'm about to say, I hope our relationship can endure what I'm about to say. Brace yourself. Driven by Honda Cars of McKinney and BMW of McKinney. Troy, you're so wrong. I feel that our relationship allows me to speak frankly. I will say this honestly. I think there's media people who have a relationship with Aikman are like scared to, cross him. He's a powerful, forceful man. But I've got my collection of 8 hats, and I've got my Troy Aikman bobblehead. What could possibly go wrong? I'll drink an 8 beer wearing my hat whenever I get a chance in public and in private. But I'm going to speak frankly here. Something Aikman said during the game, Monday Night Football, the debacle for the Cowboys at AT&T Stadium. They got drubbed, as you may recall, 27-17. And in the midst of getting their arse kicked, Aikman, Hall of Fame player, Hall of Fame person, one of the greatest ever Cowboys, and as good as it gets in the broadcast booth, took a poke at the news that his old boss, Jerry Jones, was working on a trade or two hours ahead of the Tuesday deadline. Quote from Troy that night, and he's kind of chuckling. He may want to cancel that trade. Why, Troy? I don't think one player, from what I've seen tonight, I don't think one player is going to make a difference for this group. Troy, here's why you're wrong. And by the way, and let me reiterate, to make it really clear, and in the interest of transparency, if I'm nothing around here, I am straight dope, no BULLSH. Here's the nature of the relationship and the character of Aikman. Nate Fisher, I don't know if I've ever told this story, Sugar. Nate Fisher got a college coaching job, got on the path to a college coaching job, thanks to a recommendation from Aikman. How about that? Troy had known Nate since he was little, but it was awfully generous of him, wasn't it, Sugar?
Very much so.
And Nate got a college coaching job, got his start in that racket, thanks to Aikman putting in a good word. You put Troy Aikman on your resume. I want to join a college football coaching staff as an intern or a GA. That's what he was, as a GA. And you have Troy Aikman on your resume. Coach probably says, the school probably says yes to that. So our relationship is good unless I've just ruined it. Troy, you're wrong. Obviously, you bring in the Jets defensive tackle Quinnen Williams via the blockbuster trade, and you pair him with the acquisition of the Bengals Super Bowl linebacker Logan Wilson. That doesn't automatically morph Dallas's defense from being crappy to great. It doesn't even make them go from crappy to credible. Not yet. No one player can necessarily do that. When people say, by the way, here's the funny line for me, no one player is going to help this defense. Well, they got 2. They got 2 players. Could that help the defense? Yes, Ken Lawson, Uncle Fish Premium. Take out your number 2 pencil for this. This is the height of logic. My greatest strength. Logic in the face of emotion. Because you've never seen me get emotional on this program. You're bad. Your defense is bad. And you're trying to seek improvement. So you got to start somewhere. Tom, Uncle Fish Premium. These trades are the beginning of building our defense, which still needs more players. Right. I've used the analogies over the course of the last couple of days. I'll try them on you again to make sure we can all agree on this. Marcia just bought a car. It's got 4 flat tires. She says, well, I'm going to pump up the left front tire. And I answer, no, don't bother doing that. This car doesn't need 1 pumped up tire. I know, Mike. Eventually, I'm going to pump up the other 3, but I'm going to start with the 1. The Cowboys started fixing their defense with 2 moves. Started fixing their defense. We got 11 leaks out in the sprinkler system, Sugar.
Yikes.
11 leaks out in the front yard sprinkler system.
Oh, the water bill.
Stacy's going to come over and he says, I can fix. I know I can fix 1.
Yep.
Should we tell him no? No, don't fix 1.
No.
Of course, fix 1, and then fix the second one, and then fix the third one. When you're bad and you're trying to seek improvement, you got to start somewhere. Zoilo, if you have 4 flat tires, just buy a new car. But, I'm lazy. John, 2017, Troy is right. Diddly, diddly, nink. No, he's not. Part of what Aikman's doing here, and the Cowboys helped feed this myth with Charles Haley, and Jerry Jones did this. Mr. Mike, we couldn't have spelled Super Bowl without old Charles Haley. He's the one guy that put us over there. Charles Haley's not the one guy that put him over the top. 45 guys put him over the top. How did Charles Haley put him over the top, but Darren Woodson didn't? Larry Allen didn't. Michael Irvin didn't. They all put him over the top. Not one guy. You're bad. You got to start somewhere. They don't really have 11 problems on defense. Wouldn't it be fair to say they have 5? They need run-stopping interior defensive linemen. They need linebacker. They need safety. They need cornerback. Let's go with 4. They have 4 problems on defense. Hopefully, they just fix 2 of them. And now in free agency or the draft, you know what? For the fun of it, let's do, just for the fun of it, for the sake of the argument, here comes DeMarvion Overshawn. What if he fixes? That's 3 fixes. What if Siobhan Ravel, the rookie, can play cornerback? I don't know. Either do they. That'd be 4 fixes. Tony Matoli, hey! When they got Amari Cooper, that changed things. Of course it did. And yet, the Cowboys weren't 1 player away. They just needed better players, so they got 1. When the Cowboys drafted Booker in the first round, well, that's not going to do any good. They're not 1 player away. I know, but you got to get 1 player first. The Cowboys defense needs 4 new players or 5 new players, and they added 2. Zoilo, don't be stupid. I already quoted you once. Don't make me embarrass you on the second one. This is not being supportive of Jerry. What are you talking about? This is team building. The Bears need players. They added a player. Well, that's not going to do any good. Yes, it will. Of course it will. The Eagles added players. Well, that's not going to do any good. Of course it will. Adding good players is good. Just because you need 3 doesn't mean adding 1 isn't good. Use your heads. This is a reason to celebrate, not to scoff. Jangly comes in via the super chat. Fish, the only problem with our project car is that we need a new motor. Not even close. Matt Eberflus being the motor that we need. And you know what? Jones has already talked about stability and keeping him, and I've already destroyed that. One more note. Fish, you're always on Jerry's side. Really? Because I destroyed Jerry on the Eberflus thing. On this show and in print. It's mindless that Jerry would leave out the details of why he's changed coordinators so many times, quote, in the last 5 years. Want me to do it one more time? We shouldn't have changed coordinators all those time. That's my regret. So we're going to keep Eberflus because we don't want to change so often. So you should have kept Mike Nolan? No. So you should have kept Dan Quinn? So you should have kept Mike Zimmer? He didn't want to be here because you screwed him. So no. Aikman should know better than anybody about what one as a bridge, as a step to the next player. In 1989, Troy Aikman was the number one pick in the NFL draft. Blue chip. He joined an NFL team, the Cowboys, that I think in 1988 was the worst team in football. Right? Aikman comes to the Cowboys in 1989, and Sugar, what were the Cowboys in 1989? The worst team in football. Well, therefore that proves Troy right. One guy doesn't. How worthless it was to draft Troy Aikman, because in 88 they were the worst team in football. In 89 they were the worst team in football too, with him. Wonk wonk. They needed Troy Aikman because they needed 20 guys, and they got one. Then in that draft they happened to get some more too. So even with Troy, no, one player didn't make a difference between being the worst team in football one year and being the worst team in football the next year. But it was a step to not being the worst team in football eventually. Aikman became a centerpiece, obviously, and a three-time Super Bowl champion, and what I believe is the greatest assemblage of roster talent during those few years in NFL history. And they did it step by step by step, guy by guy by guy, one by one by one. It didn't happen because one guy, Troy, made a difference. It didn't happen because one guy, Charles Haley, put him over the top. It happened because 45 guys put him over the top. So I understand scoffing and making fun of the Cowboys in this moment. It's a national pastime. Let's make fun of Jerry. Let's scoff at the Cowboys. And by the way, if anybody says anything positive about Jerry, let's bury him, because what a moron he must be. But I'm going to do it anyway. Jerry promised you he was going to make 2 trades, basically. I said I'm skeptical, and the next day he made 2 trades. How do you argue against that? Benjamin Beadle. Wish my name was Benjamin Beadle. I'm Benjamin Beadle, private dick. Fish, I think Jerry deserves any and all the scrutiny he gets. He's probably the only reason Jerry pretends to give a bleep and pick up the phone. You think the scrutiny made Jerry pick up the phone? Benjamin, good try. He does deserve all the scrutiny he gets, just like every owner, every quarterback. The old quarterback thing goes back to high school. You get free good grades because you're a good player. You get to make out with the cheerleader. There's also pressure on you. Same thing when you're the boss of the Dallas Cowboys. You get all the glory and you get all the crap. You get all of it. General manager, coach, quarterback. That is the way it works. But Benjamin Beadle, where I'm going to fix you here is you're buying into the mythology. You think Jerry traded for some linebacker from Cincinnati named Wilson? Psst. Jerry had no idea who he was. Jerry'd never seen him play. You kidding me? So I get the trend. Let's make fun of everything. Let's hate everything. Shogun, except you, Fish. Why is everybody panicking? There's 8 games left. Yeah, no reason to panic. Just be aware of the triple gauntlet that's coming after the Raiders. For that matter, you might as well be aware of the Raiders. They're about this far behind you in the standings. Jangly, I'll forgive Jerry for all his sins if he can win it in the next few years. It. No doubt. If Jerry Jones is still alive and involved with the Dallas Cowboys for the next 3 or 5 or 50 years and they win a Super Bowl, there will be a parade and he will be at the front of it. And most people will acknowledge the credit that Jerry will deserve then, just like most people's, more than most people, acknowledge the crap he deserves for now. Jerry brings that on himself to the point at which the Nationals and the Casuals are going to rip Dallas and have. They were going to rip Dallas if the Cowboys made a trade. They're stupid. If they didn't make a trade, they're lazy. Let's us be smarter than that. If a critic wants to pan these deals, if a critic wants to hate these deals because the critic doesn't like the picks given up, or because he doesn't like the contracts being worth it, or because he doesn't think the players are good, that's one thing. But with any team's roster, the building process must be ongoing. You can't rip efforts to build. That's ignorant. It's dishonest. If the NFL team that you root for, the Cowboys, are producing the NFL's worst defense and they go acquire 2 starting players, then that's universally a good thing. DT, with all due respect, Aikman was not talking about the problem being bigger than player acquisition. He was not talking about that. He was talking about how bad this defense was, how bad this defense is, that he's watching right now, saying not even Trey Hendrickson would fix this defense. That's exactly what he was saying. With all due respect, DT, I really don't need anybody's help in interpreting what Troy Aikman says, if you know what I'm saying. Have you not seen my bobblehead? Have you not seen my 8 hats? I'm an Aikman guy. I understand the language. I know exactly what he was saying. Serious-minded people, and that certainly includes my guy 8-Ball, shouldn't be looking at what the Cowboys did with punchlines. Unless you don't like the money, or you don't like the player, or you don't like the picks given up. Serious-minded football people should be looking at what the Cowboys did with praise. Bish, out.